We'll use this few minutes here at the beginning to settle in and connect internally. Regardless of what time of day it is, where you are, is coming to rest inside that, having that idea of the holiday for the heart. Check in on your body, how it's doing, how it's positioned, if it's comfortable. Maybe take in a deep breath and let that breath energy really permeate the entire body. Letting all the muscles relax. Can check in on some of the places where you might hold tension, around the eyes or in the jaw, the shoulders, the belly, or anywhere else where there might be some strain. And just invite those muscles to relax. If there is some area that just doesn't want to let go, sometimes it's helpful to intentionally tense up right there and then release. And then check in on the mind. The mood, the heart, however you think of that emotional, mental facility that we all have that has all kinds of thoughts and feelings coming through based on conditions. And just being aware, being accepting, and this is how it is right now. Bringing some loving kindness to whatever that is, whatever state of mind, whatever activity in the mind, whatever the emotional sensations are that are presenting in the body. It's okay. Maybe it's pleasant, maybe it's unpleasant. It doesn't really matter. We can be present with it, hold it with a kind of lightness and wisdom. It's all changing. It's all changeable. We can use our breathing to relax around whatever those thoughts or feelings are. Letting go of emotional tension, letting go of mental tension. And we have agency, we have initiative, we can intentionally bring forward a sense of kindness and openness, letting go, making the inner world spacious. Regardless of what the outer world may have going on inside, it can be spacious and peaceful, even though there's any kind of feeling or thought coming through. And that in this present moment, we can be happy and peaceful regardless of what is happening. Because we know this is natural to a human life, whatever it is. And that it will change. Sometimes we feel very stuck, and that's also natural to a human life. And if we can remember that everything is conditioned and impermanent, in our sensory experience, in our experience in this human form, in the conventional world, then we can bear with it. And we can take an interest in it, and we can even enjoy it. We can learn from it. But we don't have to be pulled down by it or caught up in it. Can just let it be. You can see for what it is, whether it's helpful or not, wholesome or not, and use that that intention, that agency that we have to incline towards the wholesome and to be seeing with Dhamma. It's such a beautiful, natural facility that we have available to us all the time. This awareness and wisdom. And the Buddha encouraged us to lift up the mind, brighten it, gladden it. The fact that we can choose to do that is so wonderful. And it's only after accepting how it is and then encouraging it to be uplifted. And how we do that is as variable as we are. Each of us come to know ourselves and know what brings joy, what brings enthusiasm, what brings encouragement. That encouragement to be ethical, to be loving, to be thoughtful, mindful, present. Allowing good feelings, wholesome, spiritual, joyful feelings to arise and to spread if that's the tendency in the moment. Whatever way that pleasant feeling shows up in any particular time, really encouraging that gently and consistently. Always inclining towards peace, towards Nibbana. I want to share some reflections on a new practice I've started using. I this may not sound new, but to me, I'm really having a good time with it. Um, with the interest of being present with and addressing any form of dukkha, no matter how strong or how subtle, in the moment when it arises, or when I become aware of it, I'm asking, oh, what do you want? And in kind of playing with this practice, I've been seeing how, first of all, you can ask that question, what do you want? In a lot of different ways, tones of voice. um, you know, what do you want? Or what do you want? you know, but really the way I'm doing it and the way that works is with that right intention of kindness and compassion and letting go, which is, as many of you know, those are the words I use for the renunciation, non-ill will, non-cruelty. But I feel like it's important for each of us to look at those words for right intention, and really decide how to express them for yourself that brings that feeling, that mental state that is, you know, wanting to let go and be open, um, instead of the opposite, which is um, the sensual desire, or um, the desire, and then non-ill will, which is, what is it like to not have ill will? What is it like to not have cruelty? And then what are the words that work for you? So that intention, that package of, for me, kindness, compassion, and letting go, and then asking myself that question, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? And the reason for that question, the way I've been using it, it's related to the second noble truth, where the Buddha says that whenever we are experiencing dukkha, there's a cause, and the underlying cause is one of three kinds. It's either sensual desire, or it's becoming or wanting something, or it's like wanting to get rid of something. And so we can look at any kind of dukkha, any kind of unpleasant feeling. So, like, we can, when there's some kind of unpleasant feeling in the body, so maybe the body's hungry, because we're existing in this form, that wants something all the time. It's just, that's its nature. Right from the beginning, the first breath we take out of the womb, and who knows what's going on in the womb, I don't know. But there's this constant wanting, because there's this discomfort or threat of discomfort, or this constant changing. There's always some kind of needs. Maybe we need food, maybe we need warmth, maybe we need um, some kind of comfort. And so when the body is having some kind of feeling and I ask it what it wants, then it can be some very natural, like it wants something to eat. And then I can look at, well, is this a desire that's, does it want something that's good for it? Or does it want something that's really not good for it? And you can get the sense of that desire having a different feeling when it wants something that's really feeding a kind of addiction, or some kind of, maybe not even it's like when I think, now that I know about the microbiome, like all the different critters that are in there. And if you eat a lot of sugar, then the ones that eat sugar are kind of gaining the kind of dominance, and then they want more sugar. And it's not even like what I think of as my body, right? This is a really good way to like be non-self around the body, because there's so much going on in there. Um, so it's like, is this just the craving that the body has been conditioned to have, or is this when it's wanting broccoli, I'm like, okay, that seems like a good thing, and it doesn't mean that I'm gonna not consume something that's like a little unhealthy, or something. But this is all about understanding and knowing, learning um, what it is that we want. So hunger and thirst, and um, being too cold or being too hot, it's natural, and we don't even think about it. Oh, gotta take off the sweatshirt because it's getting too hot. But there's dukkha there. It's valuable to look at what is it that this body wants. And it gets even, that's an easy place to practice. And then it gets much more interesting when we're talking about the mind. And what does the mind want? Some memory comes up from the past and it's painful. And then it's like, well, what do you want? So what the point is that we want to use awareness. We want to use that kind of like that pulling back or clicking back and clicking up, to really see what's going on from a Dhamma perspective, from, a little bit higher altitude than just like right on that same level and immersed in it. So what is it? What do you want when that memory comes and there's that painful feeling? It's like, oh, I want it to be different. I want to change the past. And it's like, if I come to it with this really innocent and kind attitude, the innocence is suspending the kind of voice that's like, well, of course, you're not going to change the past. If I suspend that kind of automatic reaction, and I really just stay present with what is being wanted here. And then the natural seeing of, yeah, there's no changing the past. It comes with a smile. It comes with a kind of a gentle laughter, because it's like, oh, of course, the past is just the past. There's no changing it. Whatever happened, it's okay. we can let go. That's where this renunciation part in the intention helps. And so there's this that wisdom and kindness that kind of allow for just being able to be present with whatever that feeling is, whatever that thought is, and being able to see it in context, see it in the context of Dhamma. And maybe there's some thought that comes up, some painful experience around something someone says to us. And then, if in the moment we can have enough awareness to really just not fully let it strike the heart, or maybe it does strike the heart, but you see around it, you see, oh, what is it? What do you want? You maybe want to be seen in a different way than this person is seeing us, or we want our idea to be the one that carries the day and it's not working, or what we want to be understood, or things that are so natural. We want safety or something like that. And then when you see it with wisdom, it's like, oh, I there's this attachment to to being perceived in a certain way, or attachment to being something. And then with wisdom, we can in a way, because of ongoing practice. So this is part of conditioning the mind, we're training the mind to step back, have that view from a perspective that is the Dhamma, to be able to say, oh, why does it matter? Or see how it's changing. I mean, if there's, we of course can take this perspective and understanding of this situation, this experience in its context. And then we can let go of the urgency that comes with feeling hurt, or the urgency that comes with the dukkha. Because it's like, well, it's just dukkha. It's just this feeling. And maybe there's something we should correct in the situation, like say something that's going to clarify where we're coming from, or something like that. And that can be done with a lot of gentleness. Or maybe it needs a little bit of energy behind it, but that it doesn't come from ill will, it doesn't come from harshness, but from wisdom. So this has really been fun. I've been experiencing, doing this throughout the day, really experiencing dukkha as it arises, and then when the wisdom faculty observes, and I want to make it clear that it's not like it's not repressing or suppressing, but really being present with the feeling, and really seeing, oh, there's something I want to get rid of here, something I don't want, or something I want. And so it's either, or some kind of sensual comfort or experience, really taking that in, and then seeing with wisdom, oh, it's just this. It's going back to Ajahn Chah, it's just this much. It's just this. Instead of letting the mind connect to this experience with all the other experiences like it, which builds it into a thing, because this is what our mind does, right? This is why we think we're a continuous solid being instead of a process. We collect experiences that have the same flavor together, and we make it a thing. But if we're aware and we can really see this as an instance of yet another changing condition, we don't have to be so burdened by it. And we don't need to carry it along with us. And so what I've been experiencing is a fair bit of joy, like, just, oh, that's the personality wanting to be perfect again. It's like, oh, when is that going to happen? Well, I guess not, and it's okay. And so just this is just by way of encouragement, not to necessarily practice in the same way. You can try it out and see how it goes for you. But this is just like when I started talking with Ayya Chitananda about it, of course, she's had her own version of this, which is where's the clinging, her favorite game, where's the clinging? That's her way of seeing it and expressing it. And so maybe for you, it's not going to have the same words or the same um, images or whatever, but maybe just whatever it is that you want to do in the present moment with any particular arising of dukkha. Dukkha is the key. It's like that's the red flag. That's the little warning light, that says, oh, there's something to look at here. There's some misunderstanding here. There's something that we want to get rid of here that is just conditioned, changing phenomena. And I don't have to believe this is real. I don't have to take this as me or mine, because it's not. But finding your own way to practice. And I think it's so important to get to know ourselves and keep the practice fresh, find ways to stay engaged in it and interested in it and creative with it, so that we make progress and we can really, it's the felt sense of that relief and that progress that really keeps us opening up more and more to the true reality that we're in, that nibbana is right here, here and now. When there's that mindfulness and that wisdom right there, viewing, seeing, noticing, and then recognizing that that's really there, available to us all the time, that we can have peace and clarity regardless of what's happening, and real freedom from the many vicissitudes of this conventional reality and our existence in it. I think that's all I want to share. I'd like to hear any comments or questions. Whether or not that made sense.
I found it helpful to, I don't know how it works here. Shall I raise my hand and then wait to be called on?
That's okay.
I just wanted to say right quickly, hold it with wisdom. That's what I held on to in the beginning in the meditation, because I'm always being told to hold it with compassion.
Uh-huh. Hi, Martha. Welcome.
Thank you. Like a baby, but it's really more like a monster. And so anywho, holding it with wisdom was what I was really listening to. It will change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what I find, because I have to keep using a gatha a lot throughout the day, and particularly at night. anyway, and then to hear you talk about the wisdom, it just that speaks to me. Thank you. This is very helpful. This is Martha Bowen.
Yeah, you're welcome, Martha. Yeah, usually we do if you can find the electronic hand, and but it was totally fine. Yeah. Yeah, Marilyn?
There we go. Yeah, I have been using Ayya Chitananda's method for a while. Found it very helpful, but I also find it helpful to change things up. Like,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna go with this one for a while. See, like, seems to me I get in a rut and then it's not so good. And it takes me a while to realize that I'm in a rut.
Yeah.
So thanks for the variety. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Marilyn. I think it's true that if we monitor ourselves in our practice, we can see what we need that's steady, like meditating every day, and what those posts are that we want to be able to touch as we walk through the field, right? To be able to like have something steady. And then what we need to be able to keep it fresh. And it's kind of like, well, whether it's where's the clean or what do you want? Um, and that the ways in which we include different aspects of the Noble Eightfold Path, but the consistency is we're always following those first three noble truths. It's like turning towards our experience, being present with it and understanding it, and then seeing what the root is, what is the cause. And of course, it's not, when I practice like this, it's not just, oh, it's one of these three, essential desire, or it's sensual desire. I don't know if that came out right. Sensual desire, or um, the becoming, or the non-becoming, or getting rid of. It's not just those labels. It's not about the labels. It's about what is it really in that moment? Like, what do I want to get rid of? What do I want to have be different than it is? How do I want it to be different? Would I be happy if it were different the way I think it would be? Is that true? How long will it last? There are a lot of questions we can ask to not in a, because there's a way we can do it that has a harshness to it, or a punitive voice, or critical, judgmental kind of. At least I have one of those in my head. I think I can see where some of that came from. But it's like to really not go there, but to see that possibility, and then, or if that's coming up, then see that dukkha and where that's rooted, and just whatever layer upon layer appears, we can handle it. We can be with it, moving towards that kindness and compassion and caring. One of the things that I've been realizing is that I think so far as I explore, I think every time I say or do things that are not coming from that letting go, kindness, and compassion, it's a source of regret. So it's something to look at. Like when we really get into right intention, and we see that what comes when it's not in right intention. And that doesn't mean we don't have a clarity, or sometimes a little sharpness, but it's got to come from that right attitude. Otherwise, at least in my experience, it feels like it comes as a source of regret. So there are those stable, consistent posts. And then of course there's the cessation of the suffering. So it's like when I do this kind of like, well, what do you want? What do you want? It's like the wisdom aspect of the mind speaking to the body and the conventional sense of self. It's like, well, what do you want? And again, I can hear these different tones of voice, and some of them are, it could go sarcastic or it could go punitive, but then not doing that, just honestly, what do you want? And then, to really be able to be open to what that sense of self, what the ego is wanting, and then bringing in the wisdom in a way that informs. It's not to it's not to get rid of the ego or to change it necessarily, but it's to see it for what it is and that it's okay. James?
Um, so when you were first talking again just now, like when you said, like 3 times in a row, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? I could feel how you, or my experience of that and the way I was interpreted, the way you were experiencing is that you're looking slowly at the uh, dukkha and asking the same question in very differently nuanced ways so that you could kind of understand, explore different ways of getting into it and understanding it. It was as if, for me, the image arose that you were like holding a globe in your hand and slowly turning it and watching and letting the questions about it, beginning with what do you want, or uh, just sort of take their own life so that you were kind of receptive to what you were seeing and what you were seeing and turning it. So in a certain respect, that places the dukkha, at a little bit of a distance so that your, wisdom can look at it, and letting the experience of examining it take its own form, the kind of questions and so on and so forth. Anyway, that was my experience. And I don't know if that's helpful, but I like it.
Yeah, I like that image too. That image of the globe turning. I like that. And I mean, when I was saying it repeatedly, I was in myself coming with different attitudes. And I want to point out, not, to not come to it with that critical, because we can, a lot of us, I think, can be very self-critical. When we come to it with an attitude of self-criticism, just like anybody in our life, if they're sharing something with us and we come to it with a critical attitude and some judgment and some kind of maybe punitive attitude or whatever, it doesn't go very well, and it's not going to go very well internally either. But I like your perception of what I was saying, because it is true. If I, so this stuff is so ingrained in us, so conditioned, that it may take some questioning from different perspectives. And if you turn that globe and you see things from a different point of view, and you recognize, oh, this is really this particular desire to be or to be seen in a certain way, or this comes from a long history of conditioning, and have some compassion for that. And then seeing the space around it, you can see, I don't have to be this way. I don't have to pursue this desire or it's really never going to be fulfilling, but when it's when we see it in the instance, when we're actually feeling that desire, we're feeling the pain that comes from not getting what we want, or for getting too much of what we don't want, or whatever it is. I think that's when it really hits home. So this is like chipping away at the delusion of self and who we think we are. And of course, it's that this kind of chipping away at it changes us, changes our way of clinging to this sense of self. And it also conditions the kind of when the penny drops, or using one of the phrases Ajahn Sumedho used recently, is like to when that really major change happens, where we really understand the nature of reality. This is a part of the process that we can choose to do. It's not something we just have to wait for the lightning to strike. It's just we choose, we create the conditions where the mind is more and more open and amenable to seeing the true nature of things. Thank you, James. Shane?
Thank you, Ayya. When you were talking, um, I was a part of a program for a long time.
Oh, you're breaking up a little bit.
I'll just lower my hand. My headset's not very good.
Yeah, it's okay. Hey, no, you can talk. Just if you adjust it, then I think it'll come through. No? Maybe?
No, this headset is. I'll sit there and I'll say very. It'll
Oh.
break up.
Do you want to put something in the chat? You can if you want. I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Well, okay. Well, I was just thinking when you were talking, I've been a part of a 12-step program. They and what you were talking about sort of sounded like the part where you kind of worry, where they talk about, okay, you notice, okay, I have this resentment. Okay, how is this resentment kind of how is this affecting, like what's wrong? Like what's cause here?
Yeah.
And then they talk about like you look at like how you is affecting finance, whatever it might be. But then they had this thing that was very interesting that actually saved my life, stopped me from probably going back out drinking, where they talk about, okay, all this is very helpful, good information, but what is like what is going we start to look like, is this from a place of fear? Am I afraid that that I want, or that I have, all these kind of things get really kind of gory. It's sort of like what you're talking about, and I just I always have an appreciation for kind of looking at myself, these types of topics. I just wanted to say thank
Yeah, it's true. And it's true that we see this same approach coming from
you.
different sources, different places. And it's like when I've said this before, when I reflect on the years that I spent in therapy, everything that worked, I found later was in the Dhamma.
Hmm.
And it's like, and like when I say we're all working with the same spiritual material, it's like the spiritual reality is the spiritual reality. The reality of what's beyond this conventional world is the way it is, and all religions are pointing at that and expressing what people have experienced of that, and the 12-step program too. It's like it's no big surprise that we kind of hear the same echoes from different sources, and it kind of gives you some real confidence. This is the way to go. This is this investigation and being with these feelings, and recognizing what's really behind it, and feeling the fear or feeling the anger, but knowing that this isn't something that we're going to promote. We're going to observe it and really try to come to the root of it and understand it, and abandon, as the Buddha said, abandon those causes, and then experience the freedom from it. So yes, thank you, Shane.
Yeah, I don't know how many people know this, but I work in IT, and this kind of methodology is also very prevalent everywhere. The Four Noble Truths, what's the problem? What's the cause? What's the solution? Let's focus on the solution. Root cause analysis everywhere.
Yep. Management training, don't focus on what people did wrong. Notice how we can change it. This is a situation we have now. Don't belabor the mistakes of the past. Let's just get on with it and with the new knowledge of what we need to do. Exactly. It works. Thank you, Shane. Suzanne?
Okay, this is similar to what Shane talked about. It's a different approach. And I've been wanting to ask you about this. It's from Ajahn Vimalaramsi.
Uh-huh.
6 R's. Are you familiar with his 6 R's?
I'm not.
I mean, maybe you don't want to say anything about other Ajahns, but
Oh, no, that's not true. We talk about other Ajahns all the time.
okay. Well,
Yeah.
his first R is recognize.
Yeah.
And so I've been using it for about a month now, and I really love it. And then I wonder, like, well, how long do you recognize? Because I could, lay in bed and cry all day, which I don't want to do. But his second R is release. So you recognize, but then you release it, and that's really helpful. Third is relax.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know you can't say like exactly how long to stay on something, but what you're feeling from recognize to release.
Yeah, so I would say that there's something in that recognize that needs to be made much of. So it's not just that we recognize that we're feeling fear, for example, and we also need to recognize what is the root of that fear. Like that's why, what do you want, or where's the clinging? You kind of get see the root of it. Shane was talking about that too. You kind of see what's behind it, and you're really experiencing it, but not in it. So it's like we might cry, especially early on when we're dealing with a lot of built up feeling that we've been suppressing maybe or whatever. However, there's that aspect of the mind that's not upset, that's not afraid, that's not feeling sad or whatever. And that's the part in the recognize that I would imagine he probably would talk about, but it needs to be there, seeing that this part that's aware is not caught up in the feeling. So it's part of what we need to recognize. So I think there's more, I would say that there's more layers to that recognize than to just being with it, to just being with that feeling. And I've had in my own, kind of practice many years ago, noticed that when I would be learning how to stay present with what I was experiencing without taking some exit route, trying to get away from it, like entertain myself or do something else or think about something else, or, like there's a lot of exit routes that one can take. Blame other people, look for the problem outside of ourselves, going out instead of going in, and being present with whatever it is, or just really feeling bad about what happened, maybe feeling like the victim. There's so many different ways of avoiding being present with what we experience. So I was learning how to, not take an exit. But then I was, like I was determined, I'm going to stay with this feeling. I'm going to stay with this feeling. I'm not going to pull away from it. But then I started to get depressed. Like I could be with a feeling for days, and I was starting to get depressed. And then the guidance was, well, you're clinging to it. And that was very helpful. It's like I was so not wanting to escape from it, but then I was clinging to it. So it's like it's got to be with this hands off, kind of being present with it and allow it to change, because it's changing. When we're present with something, you may have noticed this, like you can have an incredibly strong emotional experience. And then when you're present with it in this way, with awareness, with wisdom, you're present with it. You're not doing anything to it. You're just observing it, but it changes. Like even if we're just present with the feeling in the body, it might feel like it's consuming our whole chest or something, or our whole belly or whatever it is. And it's so hot or it's so strong. But as we watch it, it starts to get diffused and it starts to soften. And if that's not happening, and we're really like for an extended period, we're just tight with this feeling, we're holding on to it. So then this is kind of an answer to how long do you stay with it? You don't stay with it. You stay observing it, and it changes and it releases. That's what I think.
Yeah, that's very helpful, because it seems like sometimes it's almost like skipping a stone on water, you know, like it isn't using the depth or the weighting.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's like repetitive, oh yeah, I know that one.
Yeah.
But I don't know that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe sometimes when it's repetitive, because things are repetitive because we've been so strongly conditioned. Sometimes when they're repetitive, we do want to look more deeply into what's underneath. And sometimes it's just the perpetual energy of the conditioning, and we can say, yeah, I've looked at this one completely and I know what it is, and I can kindly just say, no, I don't have to think about this anymore. But that takes some development of understanding ourselves and understanding our process, and we'll know whether or not we gauged it well, because it'll keep coming back. If it needs more attention, eventually it'll dissipate and not be coming back if we've given it enough attention. I think that's what I experience.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anybody here have any comments or questions? So I have a question about the causes. When we ask, what do you want? Or we ask, like what's behind this? It's important that we're looking inside rather than outside. So that's the first thing. And it might be all inside, but if we go out to look at the causes in the world, they're endless, absolutely endless. If it's this person that's really been a problem for us, if they go away, there's going to be another person that will trigger it because it's still in here. The pattern is still inside. So what we want to do is very tenderly, like encouraging a wild animal to come and eat out of your hand. You want to like be that gentle and that quiet and that patient, because sometimes it doesn't really reveal itself so easily. And if we say, what do you want, with too much strength, it just hides. So that's why I like the feeding your demons process or something like that, where we're really listening to the intuition to arise. And so maybe there seems to be many causes, but when we look internally only, and we don't come up with the causes from the mind, don't just think, well, it's probably because my mother talked to me like this, or my, whatever. Don't go there. And because that's again looking outside. So instead of trying to figure it out, we can't really figure it out, because these conditions come from maybe lifetimes. They come from like before we can remember. Even if we can remember once, it's so kind of entangled with everything else of our personal and cultural and social conditioning that it's not like we can figure this out. So instead, it's like asking, what do you want, and letting that arise intuitively. If nothing comes, we don't have to figure everything. We can't figure it out, but we don't even have to have the realization all the time of where it comes from, because we don't need to disentangle all of our karma. It's like, it's like Angulimala didn't have to go back and think about every person he killed and all of what came along with that. I know that's kind of an extreme example, but it's like for us, we're never gonna unpack and resolve everything in that karmic closet. I started out with the idea that I just needed to like take everything out of the karmic closet and then I would get rid of it all. And it doesn't really work because that darn closet is like endless. It's like, so it's only like, well, when the feeling arises, we can be with that feeling. And we can open our mind to, what do I want? Well, if like I use some of these examples that are kind of simple, if on the surface, we're still not digging super deep, but I can see, oh, I want the past to be different than it is. Then I can kind of smile and go, yeah, well, that's not going to happen, and it's okay. The past can be accepted as it is, or something like that. But if it's something it feels like a deeper root, we might want to ask, what is it that I feel like I want to be? Or what is it that I feel like I am that's causing this fear? Or knowing that it's natural to be afraid. We're in this very vulnerable body that can be harmed very easily. If we really still believe that this is me and I'm worried about it, that's natural because we're this tiny being in this vast universe with full of dangers. No wonder there's fear. And it's okay to remind ourselves, I'm not this body, that my true nature is Dhamma, actually. So there's no real end to that. There's no beginning. And it's like, it's interesting because you don't want to use those concepts as an escape or some way to placate. So it's like, it's really important that we develop each our own discernment around how to really be honest and present and clear. It's a process of our own learning. And all that any teacher can do is point to things and try to like, well, if we go that way, it doesn't work so well, or try it and see for yourself, But I hope that's some help. Steve?
Yeah, I've been trying this new meditation technique that is pretty similar to what you've been identifying, I think, and it's taking metta, which I usually my metta practice is usually for beings and usually for other beings, and and also for myself, but taking that feeling of kindness and applying it to any perceptions of anything that arise in awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And it really brings a softness and a sense of relief to release to whatever is coming up, and kind of reduces their solidity.
Yeah.
So
Yes, exactly. That that right intention has such a power. And we're really developing that, second factor of the Noble Eightfold Path. and to see that it has so much influence over how we are. I think you're right. And I think for me, with doing this practice this way, that part is so much a part of why the smile comes, and the like, oh, you know, and then also for me to see like the times when I've I've been coming from a different position than that, like, oh, we got to get this done, or like, you know, whatever this kind of um Chitananda calls it my work mode. It's like, oh gosh, you know, that really doesn't have the result that I find inspiring, uplifting, or safe. Anyway, yeah, thank you, Steve.
Yeah, and you mentioned the smile coming from the feeling of joy. It can kind of work the opposite way too. If you intentionally smile, it helps your development of joy.
Yeah, and they say it actually releases certain chemicals in the body, that this whole body mind thing really works together. And this is why having a human body is so valuable. It's so valuable to be able to do the practice through this body. And so, like, sometimes when we do body contemplation, or we talk about not identifying with the body, people can get averse to the body. You don't want to do that, because the body is a very, very valuable tool to come to the Dhamma with. And, you know, to really hold precious every moment we have as a human body in the human form, so that we can use it for awakening. And really appreciate that no matter what this body goes through, it is a teacher for us that we can really make use of, to the last breath. Thank you, Steve.